The apartment is quite messy, and we should work on cleaning and putting everything back in place. At the top of the 3D viewport, there are 4 very useful tools to transport things in space, especially when it comes to number of objects we would like to move together. First on the left, transformation orientation. It controls the direction of the transformation, according to which axis we move the objects. Let's focus on the cup. We will select the pens. I will try to put them in place. We will take the move tool and try to put them inside. The problem is that we are moving them along the global axis. Each one of the objects also has local axes. These are individual axes, according to the rotation of each of the objects in relation to the world. If we change from global to local, we can see the local axis of each of the pens. We can immediately see that the local z-axis is what we are looking for. Let's choose them all again and move them on the local z-axis. Excellent, all are in their place. There are a few more options in the menu here, but we will switch back to global so that we can move things along the world axis. We should arrange the chairs around the table. The second tool is Transform Pivot Point. It determines which center point we are going to transform our objects according to. Each object has a center point that we call origin, around which the object will rotate. We can choose a chair and rotate. But if we choose more than one object, we can notice that the rotation happens from an average center point between the 3 selected objects. The reason for this is that here in the transformation pivot point, as a default selection, we are on median point, which is the average point between the objects. If we switch to active element, we can see that the rotation will be from the last object we selected. Remember, the one we called active, with the brighter outline. Another option is individual origins. Now, each object rotates around its own pivot. Excellent! All chairs are aligned to the table. We are ready to move on. The third and very useful tool is the snapping tool. Clicking on the magnet icon will turn it on. The tool magnetizes the position of what we are moving according to one of the options. Increments, the default option, will move the object according to the units of the world. Here it is a good time to say that Blender counts units in meters. Once we activate the magnet, all movement will be in increments of 1 unit, which equals 1 meter. But note that the object moves 1 unit from its place, for example, from 1.8 to 2.8. If we want to move in whole units, we can here, in the settings of the magnet, turn on the absolute grid snap. Now the object will jump in whole units. Note that so far we have only influenced the movement, but we can turn on the effect on the rotation and scale as well. When we rotate the object, it jumps in units of 5 degrees at a time. And so is the scale. In many cases, jumping in an entire unit is not what we want. It would be too big of a jump. In those cases, while moving the object, we can hold Shift, and now our jumps will be smaller by 1/10 at a time. If we are at a specific orthographic angle, top for example, we won't have to press Shift, because the jumps will always be smaller. If we still hold on the Shift, we will be in an even smaller jumps of 1/100 of a unit. We have some additional options that are highly effective in the snapping tool. For example, the one we use a lot is the Face Project. It lets us arrange objects in space in a quick and intuitive way. If I move the object from the white ring, Once the snap is active, you will see how it sticks to the surface of the other objects. A more efficient way would be to turn on Align Rotation to Target. Now the object will change its rotation according to the surface of the object it points to. Note that when I move an object, it actually snaps to the point closest to the surface of the other object. If I don't want this behavior, and I want the snapping to always happen from the center, I can change that here and make sure that the object is always snapping from its center. Let's quickly and efficiently arrange all those books in their place. Nice! The other options will help us in modeling and in more advanced situations. Instead of constantly turning on and off the magnet icon each time, a simpler option is to hold down Ctrl while moving. If I hold Ctrl, the snapping will come into play. If I leave Ctrl, it will stop. The fourth and last tool in the bench is the proportional editing tool. We will also turn it on by clicking the icon like we did with the snap tool. Once activated, it will apply an influence range around the object we are moving. If we grab this cow and move it up, it seems that all the neighbors receive some kind of influence from its movement. This influence can vary in relation to the type of fall-off that we define. The nature of the movement is defined by the chosen fall-off. For example, constant will move everyone equally. Random, move them in completely random way. Each one will get a completely different impact on its movement. Sharp will make sure that most of the impact will be made to the one we chose, and very little to the rest. I can change the radius of the fall-off with the mouse wheel. Or alternatively, with page up or page down on the keyboard. Great! You know all the tools that will help you move a lot of objects at once and create order within your scenes. See you in the next lesson.